Hey, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Truth. It's your girl, Naya Angel, coming through with my co host and homies for life, Mr. PAT and E Man.
What
What's
up? What up?
up,
What up?
fellas?
What's good? What's good out there,
Look,
listeners? What's good? What's good?
Oh man, it is so good to be back. We took a little hiatus for all our listeners out there. You know how it goes, holiday season and etc. But we are definitely back with a whole lot to speak on. So before we dive into that, I have got to throw it to my guy E-Man to do his E-Man highlight reel. Sir, please go ahead and bust those announcements.
Yay,
oh
yay,
boy.
yay. There's been a whole lot that's been going on, a whole lot. But first things first, I want to give a shout out to one of my clients. I want to give a shout out to Pete Cobble out here in DC, a really good guy. He does a lot of repair, like restoration stuff with shoes and bags. So definitely anybody who's in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, definitely go out in DC. His shop is at, I think, 1050 Connecticut Avenue out in Northwest DC. But definitely check him out. Dope dude. I've been knowing him for 10 years. And so his stuff is legit. Hopefully after when we done recording, I'm gonna drop his IG and whatnot when I drop mine. All right. So big shout out to Pete's Cobble in DC. Now, so first things first and whatnot. Before I kick it in again, I gotta say that the same thing I said in the last previous I would say session and whatnot, that Joe and the hoe just gotta go.
They
I'm
got
probably
to
gonna keep
go.
saying this. They
Oh,
just gotta
Lord.
go. I don't even like this is the thing about the hoe and whatnot. She said a few things to get her to sit here in her whole vice presidency. Then the whole go disappear and then she go reappear and whatnot. Like she like Houdini or something, you know. But yeah, the whole just gotta go. Like even Joe too and whatnot. Like they just gotta go for real. So I don't care if they even signed that $1 trillion like infrastructure bill that ain't really doing anything. But yeah, they definitely just gotta go. That's the
Oh,
first
I
thing.
haven't heard about that. I got to look into that.
They've been signing that thing like I think 2-3 days ago. So yeah. Next thing and whatnot. So Mr. Kid Cudi over there talking about he said he wasn't gonna put on a dress. I don't know. I was over there on social media. I saw him in a nice little white, I think I don't even want to call it like flower girl type of dress, but it looked like, he was going to some type of wedding. It seemed like he was going to be some type of like flower girl and whatnot. But the
Yeah,
fool
I
put on
heard something about that, but
yeah.
I heard he was like trolling or something, right? Like it was on purpose or
I don't know.
something like
That
that.
didn't look nothing on purpose. My man looked over there like he was crying and on there and crying for help and whatnot, looking at his face and whatnot. Mr. I poker face and whatnot. But yeah. Mr. What was it? What was his face? So day and night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, at day he was still wearing that dress. At night, you was still wearing that dress. So yeah.
Wow.
So kick it that over there and whatnot. And then the last and final thing and whatnot. Oh, I got two more actually. So the baby and whatnot. I just found out about this fool and whatnot. About I think Danny. I don't even know the chick's name and whatnot, but she's some type of singer. She's some like brown skin, curly like goldy hair locks and all that stuff. But seemed like the baby. I don't know. Seemed like they messed around and whatnot, and then say like they had like an arguing disagreement. And I keep telling everyone when it comes to celebrities and the relationships and whatnot, mind your damn business because they do the same shit that y'all do also too. But some of y'all just be glorifying that shit, and that shit needs to stop altogether.
True.
Like for real, I don't give
facts.
Yep.
a damn. Like I'm sitting over here, and she put it up on her, I think IG and whatnot, talking about this and that about the bed. I was like, girl, ain't nobody trying to be entertained by you. You just trying to get some more clout because you fucked up, and then you want everybody to agree with you fucking up and whatnot.
Now, y'all know I'm not the biggest fan of the baby, but I do feel like, celebrities have a problem with airing out all of their dirty laundry and, or specifically the folks that they date do. But it's ultimately on them to know who they're picking, right? At the end of the day, it's sad because you can't 100% know how somebody is going to behave. But like, for me, it's a matter of celebrity or not. I don't want everybody in my business. My personal life is my personal life. I think even if I was a celebrity, I'd be one of them like Keanu Reeves type. Because you don't know shit about me. You know what I'm saying?
Like Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Right. You know what I mean? Like,
I'd rather keep it like that. Mm-hmm. Keep it private. Yeah, but it seemed like they can't get their life together.
All right. Well, thank you, sir, for E-Man's highlight reel. Definitely good stuff there. So to all our listeners out there, as always, I'd like to just take the time to thank you for all of your amazing support. And note, if you have not yet, please get on YouTube. Go ahead and click that like and subscribe. But also want to throw out there this very important message that here on The Good, the Bad, and the Truth, we do often face and discuss some very difficult topics. Please understand that our opinions are just that. They are, the opinions of us as individuals, and they are not intended to offend or to, in any way impose on anyone's lifestyle or choices. These are how our thoughts are on the matters that we speak on, and we appreciate your support. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive in, fellas. The first topic is Mr. Travis Scott. So for all of our listeners out there who are not aware, recently, there was a tragedy at a Travis Scott concert. The title of the concert was the Astro World Festival, in which 10 people lost their lives. We definitely want to send our condolences out to the families of those who were lost. Obviously, I don't think anyone ever expects that, a loved one is going to go to a concert and never return. Definitely want to send our condolences out there from The Good, the Bad, and the Truth. So the official question is, should Travis Scott be blamed for the Astro World Festival chaos that injured some and killed 10 people? So I'm going to go ahead and start us off, fellas, because, this one definitely, put me in my feels a little bit. I really sat down and just thought about this from all the different perspectives, the victims and the people who experienced it in the crowd, Travis Scott, the police, and, firefighters and that authority, as well as the security and concert officiants. And, my answer to that specific question is that I think the blame honestly lies with several folks, and one of them is Travis Scott. The others are the Houston Police Department and fire departments, and then the security and concert officials. And, I'll tell you why, because each one of those people had a responsibility to secure the safety of those concert goers, one way or another. Travis, as the artist, this is not his first occurrence. He has been fined and pled guilty to inciting riots at 2 different concerts of his prior to this, in which people were injured at those two events. Now, while there is no evidence that he did any specific actions in this case that would incite a riot, he did realize at some point in the concert that someone was injured and did like a brief 30-second stop. I mean, after his prior experiences with people being injured at his concerts and being actually convicted of and pleading guilty to inciting riots, and he also even saw an ambulance on the way to the concert, what in the hell was he thinking to not stop in that moment and say, hey, listen, until everyone is safe or until we know what's going on here, I got to pause this because safety has to be the number one concern. Now, I know people are going to argue, yes, but an artist is under contract and they're not wanting to get sued by the, concert officiants and all of that stuff. So basically what you're saying is they're electing to care more about their contract and possibly being sued than human life. Either way, it's unacceptable. As the artist, he had a responsibility to make sure that folks were okay. He briefly stopped, but ultimately continued the show. And at some point, you have to call out repeated behavior. This is not the first time that people were injured at one of his shows. It should have been a red flag to him to make sure everyone was okay. Now let's talk about the Houston Police Department. These guys literally had a representative go on record to say that they were not technically responsible for the public safety, even though it was on public property, because of the way that the rules and et cetera are set up for these events. The people officiating the events are ultimately responsible. So let me clarify that for people, for our audience out there, our listeners. The Houston Police Department and fire authorities, or at least some folks within that, were aware that the crowd was a rowdy, for lack of a better term, because they were overthrowing security officers and even exceeding capacity, and did not take immediate intervention to stop the show. I'm not talking about just trying to pull back those people that's overrunning security or et cetera. I'm talking about getting on a bullhorn or driving fire trucks up to the show or doing anything that totally was within their abilities to do to stop the show. They did not do because they said ultimately the responsibility lied with the concert officiants. That was their argument. Bullshit. Ultimately, as public safety servants, they should have did whatever was necessary to save lives or to prevent the loss of lives. If those concert officiants wanted to come back and sue the city later, you argue, bitch, how you gonna sue me for saving lives? That's what my job to do. Any judge or jury that finds them guilty would have lost their damn minds. They did not do the right thing in this situation. They just didn't. No other way to speak on that. Last and but not least, in my opinion, are the security and concert officiants. So if it was a known part of their contract that they needed to have a certain amount of security and et cetera, and they've also known that Travis Scott concerts tend to get a little unruly, hence them claiming that they stepped up security and et cetera, it was ultimately just horrible planning and lack of proper preparation and complete inefficiency that led to them being able to have security guards be overthrown at the gate. Are you fucking kidding me? That's absolutely crazy. And then to take it even further, there is one witness account where she says she hopped up on like a cameraman's equipment or etc. where he was and alerted him and other officials that people were being hurt in the crowd and that people needed help and that people were being stomped on and etc. And they told her that if she did not immediately get off the equipment, she was going to be removed from the concert. Are you fucking kidding me?
That's so crazy. Because I was actually going to talk about that. I mean, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine. You're fine, man.
But I was actually going to talk about that when I got to my to my spot.
Yeah, because it's ridiculous.
That's so crazy right there. And
it is.
That's all I'm going to say right now. But I'm going to let you continue.
Oh, no problem. No problem. You're absolutely right, sir. It's ridiculous. So you were being told from someone who happened to make it out of the situation that people were being stampeded on and that people were on the ground and they couldn't breathe and they needed immediate emergency assistance. And all you said, your reply was that she needed to get off your equipment. I think if there is any culpability whatsoever from a legal standpoint, that they should be brought up on charges. That's my opinion, that they are directly responsible for what occurred as far as people not being able to be assisted and that they should be brought up on whatever charges are appropriate, because that's fucking ridiculous. I mean, at some point, you have to be able to understand the human side of it. You have to get past this is a job, this is a contract. That's bullshit. Human lives have to outweigh that. So, in summation, to answer the question, should Travis Scott be blamed for the Astro World chaos? Yes, he should, but there are others who are culpable as well. I feel like he needs to take the responsibility due to him, because the reality of it is, as the artist, if he were able to completely stop, not were able, but if he had completely stopped in the middle of his performance and said, hey, listen, I'm not picking up this mic again until we know that everyone over there in that area is safe or etc. Why the ambulance is here, that person is taken away and safe or etc. Who's to say he couldn't have prevented more lives from being lost? A 10-year-old boy has lost his life. The victims range in age starting with 10 years old. A 14-year-old, some other high schoolers, some college students. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. It's unacceptable. No parent should have to bury their child because they decided to go to a concert. It's unacceptable. And all of those parties aforementioned are to blame. Those are my thoughts on it. I'm going to throw it to Mr. PAT to share your thoughts. What say you, sir?
All right. So I'm going to come at this from a different angle. So my answer to the question would be no. I don't think Travis Scott should be blamed for what happened at the festival. And I'm going to explain why. But before I do that, I would say if anyone is to be blamed, it should be the people who put the event together and didn't put the proper security measures in place. Now, what's interesting is I've come across articles mentioning that Travis Scott is facing lawsuits over this incident. There's actually a TMZ article that's talking about Travis Scott facing lawsuits from 125 plus attendees. Now, I just think it's interesting how an artist can be blamed for something that he initially had no control over. And I'm saying that because one of the articles I did come across, and the link will be posted in the description. One of the articles I came across, you had some of the people, some of the victims who were explaining what happened. And a few of them actually said that they were yelling, they were screaming, they were, basically yelling for help, and nobody could hear them. He couldn't hear anybody yelling. I guess security couldn't hear. Like, these people were crying out for help, and nobody.
Why did he stop the first time?
Well, honestly, why didn't he stop the first time?
No, why did he? At one point, he did stop and say that someone over there needed help. You saw something.
Well, I haven't came across the article explaining that. I guess that initial part, I could only assume or come to a conclusion that maybe somebody probably tapped him over the shoulder. Somebody who heard the cries for help and was like, "Hey, dude, like, there's something's happening over there. We're gonna have to stop this right now and address that." That would be my assumption based on what you just said. But other than that, this article where the one of the victims is basically explaining what happened, they were saying that they were crying out for help and nobody was responding. So you're in this crowd of people, you're in this sea of people, and everybody's making all kinds of noises. Everybody's basically overly excited, so then of course the music's playing, so it's just too loud. And when you have people out there crying out for help, nobody can really hear, or nobody's even really paying attention. This victim, among others, even said that people were like running up to the front to get to the front of the stage, and they were trampling over people, and these people didn't even really give a fuck, pretty much, for lack of a better phrase. They didn't give a fuck. They just kept, going, trying to get to the front. So it was just the frenzy at that point. And then, of course, nobody's hearing anybody who's crying out for help. But to get back to what I was saying, though, yeah, so I just think it's interesting how Travis Scott is being blamed for something that he initially had no control over. For those of you who out there who are aware of her, she was the former mayor of Baltimore. She is now Travis Scott's spokesperson. So
time out.
Yeah.
I had to catch myself.
Yeah.
So you telling me
that's an interesting lead.
It is.
Yeah. So former mayor of Baltimore now becomes a spokesperson for a rapper.
Yep.
How in the hell did you pull that one off?
Yep.
But then on top of that, what? Like that's weird as shit. I ain't gonna lie.
It is. It's funny. Well, it's funny because I'm out here in Baltimore, but yeah, that's why I was like, yeah. So Miss Stephanie Rawlings Blake, shout out to Stephanie Rawlings Blake, the former mayor of Baltimore, is now Travis Scott's spokesperson. Now, according to her, Travis is taking responsibility for what happened. She did say that he's taking responsibility for the solution to the problem. Let me just make that clear, because I think she was trying to say that more so, because she did say that she thinks it's ludicrous that he's being blamed for what happened. But she did mention that he's taking responsibility for the solution to the problem. I just want to make sure I get that right. I don't know if that was the best thing to say or not, but I guess that's her way of saying that he is not only remorseful, but will do what he can to fix the problem. The thing is this.
It's the problem. I would not take my ass to a Travis Scott concert after this third.
Why does that sound like a whole response, though? You know, it really sounds like a whole response. Like, you know, he going, you know, Travis is going to do what, you know, what he's supposed to do. That he, you know, that he know he was wrong, but then we know he was not wrong. But then he know he's gonna take responsibility, but then he not gonna take responsibility.
Right.
Yeah, it's a weird response. It's very two-sided.
He stopped the concert more than once for a few seconds at a time, which means that he was aware that something really bad, or even if he wasn't aware of something really bad, he was aware something was going on. If you had to stop multiple times, you should have stopped it completely. I hate when, you know, in general, Black people are just blamed for something that is not fully their culpability just because they're Black celebrities. I don't think it all is on Travis Scott, but dude definitely knew that something was going on. He should have just completely fucking stopped it. Like, why keep stopping multiple times? If that's the case, then that means, okay, something might be going on. Just completely stop it to see what the hell is going on and prevent people losing their lives.
Well, see, I guess on my end, I would need to know exactly why he stopped multiple times, because, you know, in some of these shows, artists will stop a show to like speak to the crowd or to say something, you know, they'll stop for certain reasons. We'll just put it like that. But he could have stopped a few times and he probably wasn't aware of what was going on. He probably just stopped because he wanted to. An
article on MSN says Travis Scott stopped the show multiple times over crowd surge concerns. That's the information that he gave Police Chief Troy Finner.
Okay, so he gave that information to the police chief. Okay.
So, I mean, ultimately, it kind of goes both ways, PAT. You can argue that because he stopped multiple times, he showed appropriate concerns. And then you can also argue, well, he should have just completely stopped it.
Well, yeah, both arguments could be made, because if he stopped multiple times because of his concern, well, that says it right there. He's the artist, obviously. So if he's stopping all these times because he's concerned about what's going on, I still look at it from this angle where the people in charge, because of course he's not the only one, he's just one figurehead in it. The other people who are in charge of the venue or the event or whatever should have said, okay, something's happening. I mean, this guy is stopping his shows for whatever reason. He's concerned about X, Y, and Z. We need to go investigate and see what's going on. So I kind of still look at it like the responsibility falls on a lot of people. It's not just one person.
Agreed.
And I think for me, what it is they're making it about just Travis Scott. Like because, you know, it's his show. They're basically like, well, since it's his show, we need to just put all the blame on him.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he's not in charge of everything. He's in charge of showing up and performing. I mean, that's his job. That's his job. You know, it's just, to me, it's just something about one man being held responsible. You know, the thing is, too, there's no way to anticipate what thousands of people in a crowd might do at any given time. You see, when you go to your favorite artist's concert, you're literally surrounded by many other crazed fans. A lot of fans get overexcited, as we know, and might do things in the spirit of fun. But the thing is, things do go left pretty quickly, especially when you're in overcrowded area.
Right.
And
right.
unfortunately, there's a herd mentality that takes place at these types of events.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, once enough tension builds up, people just get stuck. You know, one of the victims of the incident said that there were people being trampled over, which we had mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she said that there were people on the ground who lost consciousness, but no one seemed to care. And they would just try to bypass one another just to get to the front. Now, to me, that this is where even some of the blame would have to go to some of the fans. And I'll get to that. I'll get to that when I close this out. But to speak on the trampled part, that's the shit that really trips me out, because anytime I hear about people getting trampled over, first of all, it's sickening to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, real talk, it's just real sickening. But it reminds me of what used to happen on Black Friday years back, when people would get trampled over at a Walmart or any other retail establishment. It's like people just turn into animals in certain scenarios. And it's just crazy when you think about it. But anyway, I just think there's a lot of blame to go around. The finger can't just be pointed at any one person or persons. I would say whoever was in charge of the festival would be the ones who should be held responsible and held accountable for the most part. I would say maybe Travis Scott and Live Nation on some level. And obviously Travis Scott, because he's the headliner, of course. He's the main attraction, as they would say. But honestly, I gotta hold the people in the crowd accountable as well. Because collectively, each individual who went out of control, and that behavior or lack thereof contributed to some people being injured and some people ending up dead. So that's pretty much the angle I'm coming from. I do understand that Travis is being held responsible. And I mean, obviously he's going to be, because like I said before, he's the main attraction. And it's not just about him. It could be any other artist who has a show and something terrible happens at their show. Guess who people look at? They look at the artist, because they're the big name. They're the big target. So when something bad happens, people automatically think about that artist. They're not thinking about the ones behind the scenes. They're not thinking about the crew. They're not thinking about the security. They're not thinking about the people who put the event together. They're not thinking about all the other factors. They're not thinking about all the other pieces to the puzzle. The main focus is usually just on the main attraction. So I do understand that part. But in closing, I would just say that, yeah, there's a lot of blame to go around. And that does include people in the crowd as well. Because the people who unfortunately are dead, they're dead because of what happens within that crowd dynamic. The people who got injured, well, those people got injured by other people in the crowd. So those are just my thoughts on it. Overall, the blame has to be passed around to many people. I'm gonna just put it like that. And that's that.
All right. Thank you for sharing, sir. We're going to go ahead and throw it to E-Man to wrap us up. What say you, sir?
So I'm not even going to take this shit left, and I ain't going to take this shit right. I ain't going to take this shit up, and I ain't going to take this shit down. I'm going to throw this thing so far out the park, I'm about to hit like 2 or 3 home runs right now.
Okay. Okay, sir. I hear you.
Oh, boy.
I hear you, sir.
So when it comes to this whole Travis Scott thing, I don't even listen to his fool. I'm gonna just be honest with everybody. But
I don't either.
so first and foremost, what caught me off about this whole thing that the show was called Astro World and whatnot, and it's so crazy that the show was in Houston, yet the baseball team is called the Houston Astros and whatnot. So in the back of my mind, I'm sitting here, that was too heavy of a coincidence, like really crazy. The name
Yeah, he's from Houston. So I think that was why. Travis Scott is native to Houston.
I didn't even know that, but
yeah. So I think that's why it was called Astro World, because he is a native of Houston. I'm fairly certain.
Yeah,
but
he is. He is from Houston.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know that. But and before I even say anything, Lil Flip is the best Houston rapper out there. Fuck you, Travis Scott. But I'm gonna continue and whatnot.
What about Scarface?
Right, I was going to say, what about Scarface?
Hold on,
Ghetto Boys.
I love Scarface. I just wasn't as a big of a fan of Scarface that I was the Lil Flip. So this ain't disrespecting
Okay.
Scarface.
Interesting.
All right, the Ghetto Boys are dope and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? But
in all fairness, though, one quick side note, I did hear that Little Flip had more in his arsenal than just like the songs that were released to the public. But I can't say that I ever dove into his music. So
the Leprechaun 2 was actually a really dope album, by the way, though, too.
Okay.
Just saying.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, he was doing his thing on the underground circuit for a minute until, of course, he went commercial. But
right. Which
that's
is
why
his first, how it goes.
Yeah, that's why his first, after, the Leprechaun, that's why his second, or I think third and claim album was called The Underground Legend and whatnot. But yeah, that's the whole, whole circuit scene with him and whatnot. But I definitely love Scarface. I'm just not as a big of a fan of Scarface towards Lil Flip and whatnot. That's why, because just the way
I think you're literally the only person I've ever heard say that. But
it's only because I'm a huge Lil Flip. Like, I actually listened to a lot of his mixtapes, and I was like, yo, this dude is amazing. So yeah. So this ain't no disrespect to Scarface. It's just a lot of people just don't know. And that's the thing about him, Like when everybody think of Lil Flip, they always think about that song Game Over. I'll be like, all right, cool. But I
actually did like that song.
And that's by actually one of his best songs and whatnot. Only because I like the video game beat to it. But it's just that dope. So yeah. So now kicking back to this and whatnot. So based upon, now Angel was talking about, that girl that jumped on all the whole, the equipment and whatnot, and of course I saw videos on IG. There were, people getting out down to the crowd and whatnot. Mm-hmm. That is true. He did stop the show several times, but I think on IG, whoever people was putting it out, I think they said he only stopped supposedly once and whatnot. But to me, I felt like this whole shit was planned and whatnot. It none of it made sense and whatnot. I'm like, when I first heard it out, they said that security and people who were security detail was giving stuff to the crowd, when it first broke out. And I'm sitting here that's a little weird, and they said something about injecting people with something. I was like, that was also a little weird too, and after the story developed, different people gave different sides of the stories, and then they gave more and more less evidence based upon what people were willing to share. In my eyes, I was like, it just felt all weird, because it didn't involve a weapon or anything like that. There was a lot of weird things going on. And to me, a lot of people, certain people in the, in the music industry, some people call them Masons, some people call them worship devils. But for me, when I see weird shit, I just be like, yo, you doing something you ain't supposed to be doing. And I feel like that's the situation that happened at this concert and whatnot, you know? So to me, whoever his damn spokesperson was, ex-mayor of Baltimore and whatnot, you know, I don't know if you got that job for clout and whatnot. That's your business, not mine and whatnot. I don't know what he's cutting you as a check. That don't bother me and whatnot. But I still think there was some weird demonic stuff going on because none of it made, you know, you got an 8-year-old. I think the kid who died was 8 or 10 or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? In a coma and whatnot. You got like a 10-year-old in a coma. I'm like, damn, like what was really, really going on over there and whatnot. And based upon some of the video about, I think one kid who went into a coma. I mean, I ain't really see people get trampled, you know? They literally just turn and they just see this dude like fizzing out and whatnot. And I'm like, damn, what was given out to, like, you know, at that damn concert and whatnot? I don't know. But to me, I feel like there was some weird demonic shit going on.
So you think it was like a ritual?
I think it was a ritual, to really be honest. Because I'll tell you like this, the common person, if something really happened, you know, most people be like, oh shit, we shutting this shit down. Where's security? We need to get everybody out. Find the nearest exit. None of that and whatnot. You know, you had to stop a show several.
I was going to say, sorry to interrupt you, man. I was going to say several artists have stopped their show because they thought people were injured. I mean, like, for me, that excuse is like a little whack because you're basically saying, I don't really know what's going on, so I can't really be concerned about it because I'm responsible for performing. Well, dude, the most extreme thing was happening and people were losing their lives. It doesn't matter if you thought that it was just some petty shit with people yelling and screaming. Isn't the more important thing to do to make sure it's not what ultimately occurred, which was people losing their lives? I mean, artists have done that multiple times. People have stopped the show. Artists have stopped the show to say, I'm not going to put up with y'all booing and shit. So you can't stop the show to see if everybody okay? That part just doesn't fly with me from Travis Scott. Like I said, I don't think he's the only culpable one, but yeah, he's definitely responsible too.
I mean, I'm not going to say he's responsible. I'm basically saying like the nigga didn't care because he knew what he was doing. Like, like he wasn't going to stop the show regardless. Like he knew what he was supposed to do. He did it and whatnot, you know. But because people started showing cameras and started showing shit and whatnot, and now people was there, and now people was like, yo, this nigga just don't give a fuck. I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, he just don't give a fuck. Because why? Because he knows it's a job. I got to do this. And like I told him, I'm not even going back. That was a damn ritual because they didn't, nothing over it. What happened made sense. And people sitting there recording. I was like, mm-hmm. And I'm like, mm-hmm. And like, and you want him to stop? Everyone was mad that he didn't stop. And, you know, he had to stop multiple times and whatnot. Now, basically, his spokesperson is the person over there and whatnot, trying to like make everything look so clean and like, he's not a bad person. You know, he's not this, you know, he's not that and whatnot, you know, just like PAT talked about a lot of spokesperson in the Black community and whatnot, you know, they always looking for that spokesperson. The biggest one is, who's the biggest one? Not Jesse Jackson. He a hoe. Sharpen. There you go. Al Sharpton. There you go. Biggest one. Mm-hmm. Biggest one. Like Dick Gregory said, you know, if they need something, they go to Al because why? He's the first Black person to have a show on a white network. And there you go. But just ending my thoughts and whatnot, you know, nothing's not going to change, you know, how I feel about a lot of rap. I mean, nothing's not going to change at all. But I don't listen to the guy, so, you know, nothing doesn't hurt me at all. All I'm saying is that shit was a demonic ritual. He knew what he was doing. He now he has to clear everything up because he has spokespeople to do it for him, But at the end of the day, the people who's really going to wake up is the people who actually went to his concert and witnessed everything that they witnessed and whatnot. So, I mean, I'll end it like this. I'm not gonna fight about what was right, what was wrong, because he knew what he was doing. All I'm just gonna say is like, this demonic shit just needs to stop. Like that's just all I'm gonna end on. Like it just needs to stop. Like it was disgusting, But it takes many to speak about it. But we'll see what the aftermath is. I mean, we'll just see. We'll just see. Well, I'll just leave it as that. We'll just see. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Definitely a different perspective there. Thank you for sharing, sir. And again, we just want to give a quick, shout out and condolences to the families of all the victims who lost their lives at the Astro World concert. Our thoughts are definitely with you. All right, moving on to the next subject. We are talking about another tragedy in American history, and unfortunately one that is entirely too damn common in this history, and that is the murder trial for the killers of Ahmad Arbery. So the specific question that we're going to be discussing is, are there blatant racist undertones in the Ahmad Arbery case? So I'm going to go ahead and throw this to Mr. PAT to start us off. What say you, sir?
Yeah, so there are definitely some blatant racist undertones at work when it comes to this trial. Let's talk about the jurors for a minute. So out of 12 jurors, 11 are white and only one is black.
One.
Right, only one. And this is the information we got so far. I don't know if they changed it.
No, you're correct. One.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know why that's even shocking, to really be honest.
Well, I'm not shocked, but
I know you're not shocked, but here comes the crazy thing. You know that one line they always use that basically when you go to court, that your juror is basically all of your peers and whatnot. So
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So here comes my question is this, I've never had jury duty, but here comes the funny thing about it. How can you say it's, the court, towards is like, the jurors are basically, your peers and whatnot, but yet jury duty is actually selected by random people and whatnot,
Yeah, but because the point is that it's the jury of the peers of the defendant, right? And that's part of the problem with America. And I'm not going to, dive into it, but that's part of the problem in these cases. Technically, they did uphold the law by giving them a jury of their peers. And that's the fucking problem. They gave them a jury of racist Georgia's or possibly racist Georgia peers.
And that's how, Georgia's still a racist state, so I don't give a damn what anybody say about that. I actually
agree with that.
No, it's still racist. They even got
exception of a few places in Atlanta area, and even then, there are still some close enough to Atlanta that definitely had some shaky racist shit going on there while I was living in Atlanta for the 4 to 5 years I lived there. So I agree.
That's not even shocking also too. But if you even go in deep, South of Georgia and whatnot, and I picked this up back in like 2006 when I went to Alabama State for a year. So when I lived in Alabama, I met a few people from Georgia and they told me like, the deeper you get in Georgia, the more racist it is. I'm not just talking about like, like the simple stuff and whatnot, where people try to hide it by, saying, certain remarks. I'm talking about like you will see the KKK on horses and whatnot. Like you will see them burn down people's houses, and you will see them actually killing, I don't like to use the term black folks, but indigenous people. Like, it's still going on. But I tell everyone like this: the KKK is a club and whatnot. When I mean a club, they are an association. That means that they have a business and whatnot. So when you have already established yourself as a business, that basically stating like basically you are here to stay. So, but that's just the simplest way to say it. I'm gonna kick it back to my man PAT and whatnot so he can continue, on the start. But my apologies, man. Continue.
All right. So going back to the 12 jurors, 11 being white and only one being black. So apparently there were 8 black potential jurors, but they were cut. Now, the claims that were made were that all 8 of the potential jurors expressed strong opinions about the case when questioned individually by attorneys. I personally think these people are full of shit, but that's just my personal opinion. Because anyone can claim that someone has a quote unquote strong opinion, but if we don't know exactly what these individuals said, then whatever was said is left up to interpretation. Race is a big factor of this trial. 2 white men murdered a black man in cold blood. Those same white
technically
men,
3 on trial. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I think because one was just driving, I believe. But
yeah, and he was recording. He was driving and recording.
Right, he was driving and recording. But so yeah, it was three white men. But yeah, I mentioned the 2 that actually confronted Ahmad Arbory. So all these white men, these same white men that we just mentioned, accused Ahmad Arbory of a crime he didn't commit and basically hunted him down and shot him like he was an animal. The racial makeup of that jury obviously needs to be more diverse. To just have one black juror, that's an undertone that is just hard to ignore. There's just no way you can really ignore that. I know some people out there will ignore it because there's a lot of racist people out there, obviously. But yeah, one black juror, come on now. Now, aside from the racial makeup of the jury, the fact that there was a defense attorney who boldly said, and quote, and I'm quoting this, "We don't want any more black pastors." That right there speaks volumes. And that's exactly what he said. He said, "We don't want any more black pastors."
One of the potential jurors said this in their past at some point?
No, a defense attorney. A defense attorney said this. And he said this because I guess he got his feathers ruffled from seeing Al Sharpton in the courtroom.
Oh, yeah. And Jesse Jackson was supposed to be joining as well, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So he saw Al Sharpton in the courtroom with Ahmad Arbery's family. So basically, he was like, "Oh, hold on. We can't have any more of these black pastors showing up."
So hold on, time out. So the spokesperson brings his coon to the whole court case, and then they're sitting here saying we can't have this and whatnot. That's
well, the family. From what I heard, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I'm trying to get, knowing Al Sharpton is going to be there, because I think plenty of people stated, they're going to bring the spokesperson because I think he's been out there for a while. But why Jesse Jackson? Why that coon and whatnot? Like, What more reinforcement do you need if Al Sharpton is going to be there and what?
Well, I don't know. No, I was gonna say I don't know why. Or I didn't read much about Jesse Jackson, and I guess I didn't read if he was invited or anything of that nature. But
he probably invited himself, to be honest. If there was an invitation for him, so
yeah, I mean we could speculate, but I know with Al Sharpton, he stated that he was invited by the family. The family basically called on him to be there, and the people there, the defense attorney and whoever else, they obviously had an issue with that. But I guess they were just like, okay, you know what? Is this Al Sharpton guy
on the wrong shit? See, that's a red flag right there.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And that's why I brought it up, because that's definitely a red flag. For one, they were bothered that Al Sharpton was there, but I'm sure they pretty much were just like, all right, Al Sharpton's here. All right. Ah, man, what the fuck? But they just said, fuck it. And, whatever. Just the family wanted him there. Let's just keep this thing going. But the defense attorney, one of the defense attorneys, I don't even want to mention this dude's name. It's going to be in one of the articles that's going to be posted in the description. But yeah, he basically said, we don't want any more of these guys in here. We don't want any more black pastors. And he said black. Those are the words that he said. Nobody's making it up or speculating or assuming. These are the words that came out of his mouth. He said, we don't want any more black pastors. Flat out. He just said it like that. So from that point, it's just like, okay, there is definitely some racist shit going on. I mean, we obviously know there's the racist undertones. And in this case, there's racism surrounding it, point blank. I mean, it's just crazy when you think about it. I'm not surprised. I'm sure y'all aren't surprised either.
Hell
but
no.
Yeah, this is what's going on. Like honestly, it just makes you wonder if you're watching reality TV or something. But this is real life. This is real life we're talking about. So, but anyway, just to sum up what I was saying, just to close it up. I mean, it's pretty clear that the powers that be in this case don't want a serious black presence there. They don't want too many black people around. I don't know if they're afraid that could somehow make the case go in the victim's favor, which it should. But an unarmed black man senselessly murdered, we know where this should go. But of course, the powers that be, they want to control this thing. They want to control the racial makeup, as mentioned already. And they want to do this, and I'm going to just say this. They want to do this to possibly give these white murderers a light sentence. It's pretty obvious that's what's going on. In my opinion, it's pretty obvious.
It definitely makes sense.
Because based on the jury, and then based on this dude talking about we don't want any more black pastors, what they're pretty much saying is we don't want a whole lot of black people getting involved in this thing. We just don't want too many black people to get involved.
Remember what I keep saying? They can only handle a little bit of chaos, but they can't control mayhem. Mayhem's too much for them. So once you give them a little bit of something, they be like, all right, cool. That's enough chaos that we can control, But once mayhem kick in, once they turn up that volume and everything keeps going up, and they be like, oh, hells no, we ain't doing this. That's when they start calling people out their name. Because why? Because mayhem about to kick in. And when mayhem kicks in, they're like, we're going to drop it down where we can control this little bit of chaos. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, they just want as much control as possible. And I guess in their eyes, they're looking at it like, okay, with too many black people involved in this, this could somehow shift into the victim, Ahmad Arbery, who's dead. This could shift into his favor, into the family's favor, and these white men who murdered Ahmad Arbery, they could get a serious sentence over this. And well, we can't have that. That's what they're thinking. They're thinking, okay, we got to make sure we can get these guys off somehow, even though they might not be cleared of all the charges or whatever. They'll get some type of punishment. We need to make it as light as possible, though. That's their way of thinking. That's how they're looking at it. They're trying to just have a full grasp of it, and in order to do that, they want to control who's in that courtroom. They want to make sure that there isn't too many black bodies in there, because if there is, that's a possible L that they might get. So I'm gonna just leave it at that. But the racist undertones are pretty obvious in this thing right here.
All righty. Thank you for sharing, sir. I'm going to go ahead and throw my 2 cents in on this one. And again, the question that we're discussing is, are there blatant racist undertones in the Ahmaud Arbery case? And my response to that is, does a polar bear shit on ice? Yes. Yes, there's blatant racist undertones in the Ahmaud Arbery case. I mean, his murderers are absolutely racist. Their attorneys do not give a fuck about the victim. And let's be real, I know people are going to argue, well, defense attorneys are supposed to do the best job possible to get their clients off for whatever the charges are. Yeah, you're right. But as PAT mentioned, the unnecessary commentary about Black pastors being there is ridiculous. And as I noted, unnecessary. That's a racist undertone on their part. So let's get down to, brass knuckles, right? The defendants claim that they followed Ahmaud Arbery because they were trying to execute a citizen's arrest. Bullshit. They claim this has nothing to do with race. They were trying to execute a citizen's arrest. So let me get this straight. They're claiming their citizen arrest is because they thought he was burglarizing houses. So they thought that a man in jogging clothes, in broad daylight, with no bag or car or anything else. And let me just be clear, I'm not laughing. This is so fucking preposterous that it's hard for me to get this out with a straight face on behalf of the defendants.
I ain't gonna lie, I was laughing though. So for real, I was laughing though. I was more laughing at you though. But yeah, continue though.
It's just because it's so fucking preposterous that a man in broad daylight in jogging clothes with no bag or a car or anything else to carry anything that he would have burglarized and removed from the homes was burglarizing homes. That's the bullshit story that they came up with. No, they followed him because he was Black, running in their neighborhood, and they're fucking racist. And this citizens arrest bullshit is an excuse that they're using because at the time this happened, citizens arrest was a legal thing in Georgia. It's my understanding it has since been repealed. But this is just an excuse that the lawyers decided to go with. Because let me understand a few things about this case. The daddy, and I refuse to say their names, none of them, I'm not acknowledging any of their fucking names, but the dad was an ex-cop. So let me get this right. You suspect someone of burglarizing homes and think that they're so dangerous that you have to get not only your son, but your nosy ass neighbor, and y'all have to carry loaded weapons to chase down this person, but you didn't think to call the police for backup? You know, the actual fucking cops when you were an ex-cop? Get the fuck out of here. And then furthermore, it's just a coincidence that at the time of the incident, the son's truck had a Confederate flag on it. Give me a break. These are a bunch of racist assholes who chased down an unarmed Black man and executed him. And everything that is happening now is due cause from a justice standpoint. Now, let's talk about the same subject that Mr. PAT mentioned with the jury. So, in all fairness, this is the only thing I will give the judge. When the jury was finally picked, meaning all the jury selection responsibilities were over, at the end of it, the prosecution immediately spoke out about the fact that they felt like jurors were rejected because of race. Now, while the judge did say that he could not make any changes to the jury because the defense had given viable reasons why each one of the jurors were rejected, he did acknowledge that he too felt like there was racial bias a part of this. So, in other words, the judge is saying my hands are tied because if I reverse this ruling or if I reverse this situation and override the defense, and they have presented technically legally viable reasons for why they rejected each one of those attorneys, ultimately what could happen is there could be a mistrial or those guys could be acquitted because of it. So he stated that was the reason he did not intervene, which I actually understand that. I know enough about the law to understand that. But that doesn't take away from the fact that clearly racial bias was a part of the makeup of this jury. When you look at the statistics in this situation, there is too high a percentage of Black people in that area for only the minimum amount that were selected in the first place. It's bullshit. It is clear and utter bullshit. But, you know, at the end of the day, I do think that justice will be served because, in my opinion, for them to not convict these guys, at least the father and the son. The third one, I find that there's a possibility with him just videotaping and him not actually having confronted Ahmad. I know he is also charged with the murder and etc. But I think the fact that just because he was not directly responsible for confronting him, he may not be found of the murder charges, but I do think that the other two will. And so I hope that justice will be served in this regard. But, you know, is there a question of whether there's racist undertones? Absolutely. This whole situation is about race. And anyone who says otherwise is choosing to be willingly ignorant about this. They're choosing that shit.
Or they're just
there is nothing logical. I'm sorry?
No, I was saying, or they're just racist themselves.
Yeah, exactly. They're either willingly ignorant about it or they're racist themselves. It's that simple. This is clearly about race. I mean, I beg the question, okay, you were trying to make a citizen arrest. How many other citizen fucking arrests have you made in your past then? Why was this the first one? A man jogging by himself in broad daylight. I mean, the story is just full of bullshit. It doesn't make any sense. And then this is my last little tidbit before I wrap up my point in regards to the racist undertones. Let's talk about the fact that when the first cop arrived on the scene, this asshole made no attempt to revive Ahmad Arbery in any way. He gave him no medical aid. So he arrives on the scene. There are 3 people standing up. One of them has a gun. Someone's laying on the floor. Even though I understand it was shotgun wounds and he, was expired, why wouldn't his thought just be to see if there's any chance whatsoever that there was an opportunity to save his life? The mom, Ahmad Arbery's mom, has this question. Countless commentators and lawyers have spoken about that. It's bullshit. It's because it's Georgia. There was a dead Black man that some racist white men killed, and no one gave a fuck about the victim on that day. They did not care because their only concern, let's talk about this. They let the 3rd guy leave the scene, remove his truck from the scene of the crime. The crime scene. Fucking what? What? Standard procedure is that truck should have been impounded. It's bullshit. So, to summarize, are there blatant racist undertones in the Ahmad Arbery case? Absolutely. Everyone involved, the killers themselves, the cops, their lawyers, all of them are fucking racist. And I hope justice is swiftly served and that they are met with the harshest punishments available. Their piece of shit lawyers never get another client a day after this for their racist behavior. And that cop needs to, whichever way appropriate, answer for not even attempting to revive or check on Ahmad Arbery. Those are my thoughts on the matter. I'm going to throw it to E-Man to wrap us up. What say you, sir?
All right. So, let's dial back on to like this whole case and whatnot. And when I mean dial back, I wouldn't say take it down to a trip of memory lane, but I want to take it back when this story hit. For one, I thought the story was weird. And the reason why is this because, at the time the story hit around during, I don't like to use the word pre-pandemic, but when this thing started, this whole pandemic, when it started, most of us were like home. I would say majority of everybody was home, unless you had to go to work, because the only thing we could do is go to work, grocery store, and that's basically it. That was basically it. It was just work and grocery store. And then the story hit out, and when I heard about the story, it was, for me, I thought it was very interesting. For one, they said a man burglarized homes that fit the description, but I would think anybody who wears like jogging clothes, wearing sweatpants and whatnot, that's pretty common because you can buy that stuff at the store, But even with this one, a lot of things just didn't add up for me, not just the senseless killing, but the simplest fact, man, like you said a man was burglarizing home, but yet where's the getaway car? What items did he steal? And especially if you got sweatpants and jogging stuff on, like how much stuff can you really carry? You know what? Because if you got a pocket full of jewelry in your pocket while you're running, you weighing yourself down, but you didn't find anything. And when this story hit, I wasn't highly enraged. When I mean I wasn't highly enraged, I wasn't shocked because this happens daily, even with zero cameras, or when I mean like zero cameras, because now police officers have to wear, the body cams and whatnot. So camera and no camera, it still goes on, but the one thing was, as most of us all, there was not as much shock value behind this, there's some people who were mad upset, but then others wasn't. And that what made everything more interesting about, not seeing other people's, I wouldn't say opinions, but their reactions were more surprising, And what I mean by why I was surprised, I was more surprised. The simple fact is that, it wasn't that mayhem I was looking for, because we could, that, I mean by this, like, we could have, it could have been big. It could have been a big march. It could have been something. I don't want to use the word march, but it could have been something that could have been really powerful to keep it moving. But I mean, it really wasn't, like seeing officers walk from the law for, somewhat heinous crimes that they do, and they don't get no time from it. I'm not going to talk about this is the system that we're in, but this is the system that's built to keep what they need to keep moving and whatnot. So in my eyes, they're going to see like there's no crime that has been committed, because based upon law, basically, them killing us is basically that we are nothing more than what we are is nothing but 2 cents and whatnot. Basically, we're not much. We don't mean anything at all. And because we don't mean anything, well, they're going to keep doing the same thing they've been doing. And do I feel anybody's going to stop them? No. Do I feel whatever the verdict of the case, do you feel like anything else is going to change? Not really. So we're still on this huge revolving wheel, like the whole mouse. And the faster you keep going, it's going to keep going. And then when we finally slow down, it's the same thing, No matter how fast that wheel moves, no matter how slow that wheel moves, we're still going to be in the same spot, same place. And that's what it is with like every single case and whatnot, every single case. I don't think it's going to change. But at this moment right now, we need to scrap every spokesperson. Like Al Sharpton needs to go. I don't know. They need a better spokesperson. Like I said, they need a real spokesperson. They need someone like me, That's what I think. They need someone like me, And what I mean by that is just, not because I'm trying to be cocky, as I'm speaking right now. It's just y'all don't care and whatnot, Like you're bringing in Al Sharpton. How much? I'm sitting over here like Al's like damn near. I feel like Al is one heart attack away of flopping pretty soon and whatnot. I don't care how skinny he is and whatnot, I just feel like he is one heart attack away of flopping pretty soon. But that's the guy you needed in the courtroom.
Universe forbid. Hope not.
I hope not. But like I said, I'm just saying, like, and to the inference I mean by that, it just means like, yo, I was at an age where like, I feel like this nigga don't care and whatnot. Like,
yeah, we know who he is. We know that he's this quote unquote spokesperson, but unfortunately, people still see him as a so-called black leader. So the victim's family for better or worse, however we want to look at it, they wanted him there.
They were doing what is in the best interest, in their opinion, to receive justice. And you know, so that's their, whether you totally agree with who he is and his lifestyle or whatever it is about him, from the victim's family perspective, they were willing to do whatever it takes to that may push towards justice. So I understand that.
Yeah, I understand it from that angle too.
I get what you're saying, but I'm still trying to say it's like that's what we got to do now. Like I feel like that's going to be the last resort and everything. Like, yo, are we going to keep calling on Al until everything's A-okay? Like that's what we're going to just keep doing, and then you know Al can't do as much as he could anymore, so he's just folding and whatnot. Which I think he's always going to be folding at this point, because like he basically like he's out on his tail end. Like he's more at the end of the tail, you know? And, you know, we all talk about, you know, we need to change, but we got to change and look more towards not the better future, but to have a better sustainable future, you know? Because once out goes, like who we gonna have? Ain't nobody gonna say anything, you know. So it's not even just like, you know, having new black leaders. It's about like, you know, we need to start creating things where we need a better what's going on and whatnot. So for us, it needs to stop. We need actual people. You know, not people who've been in the whole civil rights thing, you know, because not just because what they fought, but, you know, civil rights always had to hit on the table like every some odd year, supposedly. What I found out based upon law and whatnot, that they have to keep voting on civil rights and whatnot, which they did I think 2019 or something like that. But yeah, like we can't keep relying on the same guys who've been fighting since 50, 60 years ago to keep this train moving and whatnot. Because then everyone's going to be like, well, so who's the next person if this keeps continuing and happening? Like nobody's going to say anything. So like we don't just need new spokesperson, we need new faces. And now we don't just need new faces, we need more young faces in mid-age. And when I mean by mid-age, we're talking people like 30s and up and whatnot. Mostly people around our age, you know? Because we already seen what the transition was like when we was born in the 80s until now. You know, we've seen a whole lot of things change. But to get this to stop being not just so a controversial topic, but to get this shit to crazily just, you know, put it in more of our favors, you know, we need more younger faces and whatnot. Like we just do, you know? And that's just my opinion on it, you know? That's just my opinion. Because nothing's not going to change unless we not just starting like acting for this change, but we need better young faces to start appealing to, you know, more of us and whatnot, you know? Because I have nothing against Al Sharpton, but like, yo, Al, you got like at least about a good, like damn near good 40 years on me, man. At least, you know, at least. Like
well,
damn near.
I will say real quick. So the thing with Al Sharpton, and I'm not going to get too deep into that because we don't want to change the subject or make this thing go longer than it should. But real quick, we have to remember that Al Sharpton is part of the Democratic establishment.
There you go.
So for any, let's say like a younger face, a younger black face to take the lead, they would also have to be part of the Democratic liberal establishment. Now, in my opinion, we have to ask ourselves, is that what we, and when I say we, is that what black people really want? We need somebody independent, somebody who's not on the left or the right, so to speak, somebody who's not a Democrat, somebody who's not a Republican. We need somebody who is independent, who's black and independent. Let me just put it like that.
You basically got me.
Because the thing is, we could have a younger face put out there. And I'm sure I know they've tried a few times, but some of these people get delegitimized for obvious reasons. Because
they're their people. Yeah.
Right. And, there's some of us out there who could see through them and we're like, no, you ain't it. But anyway, we want to make sure that they're not from the Democratic establishment or the Republican establishment or whatever. They have to be independent. Key thing, independent. But to go back to Al Sharpton, he's the main guy. And like I said, quote unquote, black leader, because there's no such thing as a black leader. But he's quote unquote the black leader because he's part of that Democratic establishment, and they basically use him for black so-called leadership or to be the black spokesperson. So whenever something bad happens, whenever there's a tragedy involving black people, and it becomes a nationwide thing, who do they go to? They go to Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson, but of course we hear more about Al Sharpton. So just wanted to put that out there real quick.
Now you good, PAT. I mean, it's more like, you see what you get now, and I'm not going to take anything from this case because I feel it's going to be like every other case, like not just every other case, but every other cold case that still hasn't been solved and everything, So no matter what we keep using or keep saying, it's still going to be this level of like the same shit going on and whatnot, And one of the interesting things, like, Young Pharaoh actually, he did a live that was really interesting, like years ago, I think last year, where he was talking about basically how many police officers don't go to jail for killing a lot of black males and whatnot constantly. Mm-hmm. And the crazy thing about it is that they kill more black males in a year that is not told by the public, I think 3 times more and whatnot. So there's 365 days in a year. They kill at least about close to maybe 1,000 to 1,700, max 3,000 black males every year and whatnot, and they don't even like televise, because why? That's the whole thing that goes to my same concept of the whole mayhem and chaos thing, and when people find the actual number, there's going to be mayhem and whatnot, but they give you a little chaos because they feel like it's good when you put out one story or 3 stories, within a month about this and whatnot. So it makes it seem like, well, they're not doing it as much and whatnot, And it's, you want to say it's sad, but I find it just disappointing, and it's not disappointing to me, it's disappointing to a lot of people that's not really informed about what's really going on. Like, that's the disappointing part, because anybody can have a conversation about, social injustice, We talk about how much is it, like how much is going on with it. But we can't talk about how we can make this change to, we don't need to make the system better. We just need to get rid of it. Because it, and when I mean by getting rid of it, I'm talking about the inner of, you know, I don't like to use the word, I don't want to use white supremacy in this, but basically the Constitution that build institutions to help create the whole thing of white supremacy and whatnot. You know, that's the thing, you know. They have laws that basically are out there so they don't get as crazy as they get. That's why we might get a few of them in jail and whatnot, you know, a few, not all, just a few, you know. And I feel like this is what's going to happen with this case, you know. You know, so I tell people I'm not even holding my breath. I'm basically saying, like, basically, you know, we're back at this again. What do we need to do, you know, to soften the blow in my case and whatnot, you know, because I'm one of these people who are more conscious about it while others are not, you know. So for many people, they might lose their mind. For me, you know, I treat it as another day, and to educate people, it needs to stop. So what are we going to do to stop it? Whatnot? Because clearly the same spokesperson that we had still ain't doing the same thing. But yeah, my final thoughts on this, and just basically say that, you know, not much is going to change. And if we can keep, if we would, I wouldn't say stop, but if we would enlighten ourselves, you know, what needs to stop bringing the same old establishment that's not doing anything, that's still going to basically line their pockets up with the same people, you know. And I'm going to just end it from there. So, yeah.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, sir. So moving on to the last topic of the night, and definitely one that is also in the media. It is a trial, and it is about Kyle Rittenhouse. So for those who are unaware of who that is, Kyle Rittenhouse is the gunman from the Kenosha, Wisconsin protest, who is on trial for murdering 2 people and shooting a third. So our official question is, will Kyle Rittenhouse tears get him a light sentence after he gunned down protesters in Kenosha? So I'm going to go ahead and start us off on this one. And, you know, I just want to be clear, even though, you know, the victims aren't Black, you know, they were still human beings. And again, everyone here on The Good, the Bad, and the Truth sends the condolences to the family. And, you know, at the end of the day, this is still about race to a certain extent, in my opinion, because the race of the killer is playing a part in even his defense. There is a privilege that allows him to think that it is suitable to claim self-defense in this case. So do I think his tears are going to get him a light sentence? No, I don't think that particularly will help his case in and of itself. But do I think his privilege, and do I think some of the sympathy from some of the idiots in the public who believe his bullshit performance will be invoked? Absolutely. There's going to be some folks in the public who believe that bullshit. And, you know, it's all up and through his defense, in my opinion, that there is just some unmitigated fucking privilege at play here. This guy is claiming self-defense. That's preposterous. I mean, the facts of the case are simple. He went to a town he didn't live in, armed with a war-type AR-15 style rifle at an age it was not legal for him to have it, with the claim he was there to protect property that wasn't his, and then killed 2 people. It's ridiculous. I mean, the self-defense argument is ridiculous. He put himself in that situation. It's unacceptable and it's outrageous. I mean, for me, it's no different than George Zimmerman. Zimmerman approached Trayvon after stalking him, impeded on his rights, killed him, and then claimed self-defense with the stand your ground law. He put himself in a situation of danger and then killed someone and then claimed self-defense. This case is reminding me of that. In this case, this guy went into a quote unquote war zone, put himself in danger if that was the case. I mean, think about it. He was claiming it was a war zone. He was there to protect property. Okay, that's not your job and responsibility to do. That's what the police were responsible for doing. You weren't a police officer. You created confrontation by open carrying a weapon, a war-style weapon. This wasn't a pistol. This is not some typical type of gun that gun owners normally will have registered. This isn't a handgun. It wasn't a 9. I mean, what? And then he took 2 lives, shot a 3rd person because he claimed he was defending himself. What? You're voluntarily going into the danger zone, killing people, and then claiming you're defending yourselves when you didn't have to be there? It's bullshit. There were plenty of opportunities for him to leave that scene before anyone lost their lives. There's fucking video of the situation. There's live video. Before anything escalated to the point where he needed to shoot someone, he had plenty of opportunities to leave that scene. He didn't because the only danger that was there was from him. It's preposterous for him to claim otherwise. These tears are ridiculous. It's bullshit. It's part of a performance. And the fact that anyone is entertaining that bullshit as authentic is sad. Because there's nothing authentic about those tears. It's a performance. No one blatantly puts themselves in danger, or at least no one should be able to blatantly put themselves in quote unquote danger, take lives, and then claim they were defending themselves somewhere they didn't fucking have to be. So, in summation to the question, will his tears get him a lighter sentence? That's the assumption that he's going to be found guilty. You know, I'm concerned. I don't know that he's going to be found guilty on the murder charge per se. If memory serves me correctly, and I do have the link open to where I got some of my details. If memory serves me correctly, and I'm checking here, one of the charges was like murder in the first or something. You know, I don't know if murder in the first is going to stick. I feel like there's a possibility that the jury might come back with some lesser charges, but I don't know about murder in the first. In regards to the tears, fuck his tears. They're tears of a clown. I hope he gets every due justice possible. I mean, he's literally using self-defense and blaming the man he killed. The one of the gentlemen he killed, the defense actually had the fucking audacity to say that that victim was there looking for trouble. How dare he? How dare he? That man is gone because of his defendant coming to that location with a loaded weapon. They're all fucking despicable. And I hope justice is served and he get the time that he deserves. Those are my thoughts on it. I'm going to throw it to Mr. PAT. What say you, sir?
All right. Well, I say dude might end up getting a light sentence based off the fake tears, among other things. I'm going to just say this. The judge in this case is a suspected white supremacist. I'm going to just put it like that. The judge is a suspected white supremacist. I say that because if anyone has been following the trial closely, it is clear that the judge has been biased towards Kyle Rittenhouse. Judge Schroeder said that the victims shouldn't be referred to as victims. Aside from that, Schroeder wouldn't allow the prosecution to discuss a video of Kyle Rittenhouse saying he wished he had a rifle so he could shoot two people leaving a pharmacy because he thought they were shoplifters. Mind you, this video was recorded weeks before the Kenosha protest. Judge Schroeder also yelled at an assistant district attorney for trying to ask Kyle about the video.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. That, like I said,
that's fucking ridiculous.
Suspected white supremacist. Schroeder, I'm gonna just keep calling him Schroeder because that's his name. I really shouldn't even be saying his name. He doesn't deserve that, but I'm gonna just say it anyway. So Schroeder also told the prosecution that they could not link Kyle to the Proud Boys, even though Kyle was seen hanging out with the Proud Boys at a bar after pleading not guilty back in January. But this Schroeder guy told the prosecution not to link Rittenhouse to the Proud Boys. All right, dude.
That is so ridiculous, bro.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that part. That is so ridiculous.
Yeah. So with all of this in mind, I don't know how anyone would want this judge to still be a judge. Like, this dude needs to be removed. Straight up. He needs to be removed. Because this suspected white supremacist has clearly been running interference for Rittenhouse. This judge even dismissed the underage weapons charge. So, I mean, from all of that I just mentioned, I'm sure some other things that I haven't mentioned, it's got to be clear as day what is going on here. I'm going to add this too. Kyle Rittenhouse represents something dangerous. And I'm not saying that because Kyle himself is actually dangerous, because I don't think he is. But people of his ilk represent something dangerous. The way I see Kyle and other people like him, they're fake thugs. Yeah, I think that's the appropriate term. Well, one of the appropriate terms, aside from being an up-and-coming white supremacist, he's a fake thug. And people like him are fake thugs. And I see him as a fake thug. And I see fake thugs as being dangerous, which I know that's a weird thing to say, but I say that fake thugs are dangerous because fake thugs try to act hard. And when they try to act hard, they try to prove themselves. And when it comes to proving themselves, that means they would go to certain lengths to prove how tough they are. And I put tough in air quotes. Who could really blame anybody for seeing this kid as an up and coming white supremacist? When you really look at this case, how can you not see that? Now, even though he shot and killed 2 white men, we can still come to the conclusion that really those bullets were meant for black people. The protest came about after the police shooting of Jacob Blake, a black man. Kyle's mother drove him to Kenosha, and he came ready to fire off some shots. He got into a confrontation, and like a fake thug who couldn't handle the conflict, he just fired off shots. He killed 2 people and injured another. Now, going back to the concept of the fake thug, that's nothing new. One of my favorite rappers, Nas, has a song on his album, Life is Good, called Accident Murderer. That's what Kyle Rittenhouse is. And that's what people like him are. They're accident murderers. They're not truly dangerous people, but they think they are. And they're willing to put themselves in situations where people, including themselves, might get hurt. You have these really goofy kids out here who got bullied in school and are really just looking for an outlet. Guys like Kyle Rittenhouse and even Dylan Roof represent that. They represent something more sinister, though. They represent the future of white supremacy. But see, the thing is, they represent the more barbaric version of white supremacy. Now, what's going on with the trial is basically a signal to the world that Kyle Rittenhouse is just an innocent boy who made bad decisions. It's also a signal that white supremacy mustn't be harshly punished. If we go based on the judge's actions, then we can see how he's setting the stage for Kyle to get a slap on the wrist. As of right now, the weapons charges was dismissed. So there's that. And
they've asked for mistrial.
Right. And so the mistrial, there's that too.
They're asking for it.
They're asking for it. Yeah,
they're asking for it. Yeah.
I thought, when I found out, I thought they actually got a mistrial.
No, they asked for one, claiming that the prosecution used drone footage to show the jury, even though they had a clearer video. And the prosecution's rebuttal to that was the drone footage was provided after the trial had already started, and that it showcased his intentions. But so that's what the defense is asking for. And so far, that bullshit judge that Pat was just talking about has said that he's not going to consider. Yeah, fuck him. That he's not going to consider the motion because the jury is out for deliberation. Like that tomorrow they start deliberation. So he's saying, we need to wait and see the jury's response or the jury's decision before he will consider the motion for mistrial. And, hearing all the feedback that Pat just gave, I'm really starting to see everything you're talking about, Pat, with this fucking judge. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, very, very. This is like one of those things where is this real? Like, am I watching reality TV here? Like, is this real life? You know
what? I'm actually going to retract my fucking answer based on the fact that this corrupt judge is in place. You may be absolutely right that his fucking tears will help him get off because they got a corrupt judge in place. It's ridiculous.
Very corrupt. Very corrupt.
Bad as hell.
And what's crazy is, he's just blatant about it. He's not even like trying to hide it. He's not trying to be subtle. Like, this judge just doesn't give a fuck. Like
That's crazy.
And
That's
it's crazy.
fucking crazy.
It's crazy. But yeah, so you know, just to continue with what I was saying, you know, in the bigger scheme of things, whether Kyle Rittenhouse gets off or not, it's going to be a win for the system of white supremacy. If Kyle Rittenhouse were to do any time, I mean, it just shows that he's expendable, really, which he is, because in the bigger scheme of things, he doesn't matter really to the system at large. They're just gonna take that L and keep it moving, but he's expendable. People like him are expendable. Basically, he'd just be a white sacrifice. Now, speaking of white sacrifice, that is what the two men that Kyle killed are: white sacrifices. In a system of white supremacy, there most certainly will be white casualties. Basically, it's the cost of doing business. The two men who were killed just happened to be in Kyle's way at the time, but overall, those bullets were not meant for them. It was meant for Black people. I'm gonna just go back to that. Those bullets were meant for the Black protesters. Because remember, this protest was one about a police shooting and an unarmed Black man. So there's that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now, in regards to the term white sacrifice, I mean, really, I'm just channeling what I learned from Neely Fuller, the God who definitively defined what white supremacy truly is. Neely Fuller said it best when he said, if you don't understand white supremacy, racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you do understand will only confuse you. So in conclusion, Kyle Rittenhouse's tears, putting up air quotes for that, represents a cover-up. It represents to the masses that this poor white kid is innocent, which we know is bullshit because he's not. But it represents to the masses that this white kid is innocent and at worst should be put on a timeout. Basically, when kids like him act up, they need to be put on a timeout. They need to sit in the corner for a little bit of time. Now, see, unfortunately, Black kids don't get that same grace. A Black boy is a man by the time he is 12 years old. Tamir Rice was killed for having a toy gun. A toy gun, folks. A fake gun.
Right.
Kyle Rittenhouse carried around a real gun and shot real people, which caused real injury and 2 real deaths. Yet we can fast forward to now where he can act like he was crying and play on the emotions of the jury and the masses. With all of that in mind and knowing the type of system that we live in, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if dude got a slap on the wrist, if any serious punishment at all. And yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Thanks for sharing. All right. I'm going to throw it to E-Man to wrap us up. What say you, sir?
All right. Before we wrap up and everything, I think I need to just spice it up just a little bit before we get started. So I'm just going to say to make sure if you have a lovely lady, make sure you rub her booty, please, and whatnot.
Oh, Lord.
Make sure always everything must be consensual, because I got to say that because everybody be losing their mind and don't be doing the right thing. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
You don't want cancel culture to come after you.
Right.
True
Not
that,
consensual booty.
Yeah, I gotta use the correct word. Consensual booty rubs. That's the new thing. Consensual. Now, all right. So seems like we're back at the same place that we're at before. So I've been talking to a lot of people about this. Even the whole self-defense thing.
Which is bullshit.
It's very weird. Bullshit. It's very weird. Like when I heard this story, none of it made sense to me because a lot of people was telling me about this stuff. When this thing came out, I was like, hold on, how's a 17-year-old boy using like one of the biggest piece of machineries and shooting it with like precision and accuracy and killing people? I'm like,
yeah. Can I ask a quick question? I'm sorry to interrupt you, E-Man, but maybe you two know more about it than I do. Is an AR-15 something you can buy in a fucking store? And just FYI, I'm being sarcastic.
She said if you could
just one even procure a fucking AR-15 style rifle. Where do you get that from?
So
definitely a gun shop somewhere. I don't think you can go to Walmart to get it, but
I mean,
because if we're talking about Florida, most guns are not sold in Walmart. I mean, many gun stores don't even carry an RF-15. You would definitely have to get it from a pawn shop.
Pawn shops can sell. Okay, so this wasn't an AR-15 per se, but the article that I'm reading says it was an AR-15 style rifle.
Yeah, a lot of them are sold in pawn shops. It's
okay.
crazy. It's crazy to say that, but like, yeah, a lot of pawn shops they're allowed to sell a lot of antique guns, and if you choose to get. And this is why I love, because I watch Pawn Stars. That's my shit, by the way. But even certain states, if you buy a gun like after I think 1900, you might need like a guns commission, because basically those are guns that are actually up for that who has to get cleared and checked out for shooting and whatnot. And once you get all that correct paperwork, it's costly, but then they can buy, sell, and people can pawn off guns. Like anything after like 1905, most people don't even shoot them. Like they just collect them. Like there's people out here who collect antique guns and just spend thousands of dollars just having antique guns in their homes. And that's the thing that was baffling me. I was like, yo, this dude got an K-15 style rifle. When it comes to a gun and you use the word style, that means basically there was add-ons and they did things to this gun to make it as cool as possible. Scopes and like all that extra stuff. That ain't cheap. That's expensive.
Right. So that's he had to like put in work. Sorry to interrupt you, man. I just want to understand. So like basically this wasn't like a typical just like gun that he ordered from Walmart. He had to put in work to get it to the way it was on the night of the shooting in the first place.
Correct. And that's the thing that was like, it baffled me. I was like this, like, because people showed me pictures. I was like, yo, that ain't no little, that's not a child's, that's not a child's plaything. That's an assault weapon that this man's scared, like almost military stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's what stood out to me too.
And that's what's making me see and think like, yo, how the kid's not even 18, So I'm figuring out like, yo, what in the hell did a kid under 18 get a gun that's so military, like, in that Christine shape,
Right.
So I don't know if he's robbing people. I don't know if he's checking people and getting them. I don't even know. But the thing,
I want to say I saw somewhere that like it wasn't a hunting rifle, that specific gun, but that he had been trained to use hunting rifles or something like that. I don't recall specifically, but I want to say, because that's not the type of gun people use for hunting, right? Like hunting are the guns where it's like one shot. And if something is like AR style, that means it has like the multiple shots, right?
Yeah, it's like multiple.
It's
more military.
Yeah,
right.
It's what they call the gun barrel has a more multiple precision shooting. So basically, once you load it up and once you click, basically your shots are coming out like every millisecond and whatnot, and that's a big gun to hold. And remember, something that's coming that fast, you got to make sure you hold it steady, because if you don't, if you use a real gun, that gun can clip back and hit you.
Right.
That's a big ass gun.
Back, yep.
So for him, who doesn't even look that big, to be carrying around that big ass weapon means he was putting some effort into that, and he was basically looking for confrontation.
You have to, because you wouldn't be walking around. You wouldn't be walking around with a gun that big and don't know how to use it.
Right.
And that's what kept baffling me about the story, because it wasn't about the kid. I'm like, I know there's parents who take their kids out shooting. In certain states, they allow you to shoot for free. It means like you don't have to have a gun license to like shoot and whatnot. There's states that you have to have one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's certain states you don't have to. Know that. Like Virginia actually has an open conceal law and whatnot. So basically, So like you can go to any spot. These Bammers actually got their guns on them. And I knew this because my cousin lived in Virginia. I chilled out in Leesburg one time. And like we this was like way years before. We went to a barbecue spot, and then like I'm looking around, I'm sitting over here like weirded out because like everybody got a gun. And this was after the fact me and him went to like, a gun spot out there in Leesburg. And then he told me, it's like, yeah, Virginia has an open conceal law. It's like, hey, you can walk around free.
Not to veer off subject a little too much, but do you mean like that they don't have to have a license, or they don't have to have a license to carry it in public?
They don't have to have a license to carry in public. They don't have to have a license at all. What you have to do is just make sure the gun is registered. See, that's different. See, a license just helps you. So certain states need to have a license because they don't have an open conceal law and whatnot. See, if you have an open conceal law, that basically just means that the gun you have just has to be registered to you. That's basically
right.
So that's the thing that most people don't get. Florida is the same way too. I think a lot of southern states do have an open conceal law and whatnot. Maryland, you have to have a guns license to actually carry that weapon.
You do, gotta have a license.
Because there's no open conceal law, that they allow you to bring. So if you have a license, you're more than welcome to walk around with your gun. They won't say anything to you. But if you don't have that, if it ain't open, then so.
Yeah, okay. All right, thanks for clarifying that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. And then coming back to the story, it was just very hard to get the gist about everything. Because I'm saying this kid killed 2 people with a military style weapon. If it was like a small gat or or even like a hunting rifle, I'd be like, okay, cool. I'd be like, that's possible. That's possible. Like, there's a lot of places where many people, especially down south, they just hunting around and they're just shooting anything in open spaces. You can do it openly, free in like Nevada, and I heard a lot of people do it in the desert a lot.
Right. To me, it shows his intent.
Yeah. So I'm like, does this kid have some type of military background? I doubt it, because he's only he's not even 18, so he can't even join the military. Who was teaching this kid the combat that he needs to be taught? Those are what going on in my mind.
Probably just up in that shooting range with, I don't know, his father or uncles.
Right.
It would take something to that degree. You know,
Right.
because the gun he was holding, that's not no child's play thing. That's
no, it isn't.
so now, and now, hearing about this story and whatnot, and calling it like self-defense, which when it comes to a weapon, that's mostly the first claim that comes out. And seeing this story, I mean, he's only 17, and like they're gonna do what they can to make sure he gets off. Or when I and not when and I'm not talking about getting off like they're trying to beat the case and whatnot. They will call everything to make sure everything's dotting their I's, crossing their T's and whatnot. Which they try to call for mistrial and calling it for self-defense and whatnot. And many people don't know, there's a federal law on self-defense, but certain states don't have a self-defense law and whatnot. Like they really don't and whatnot. I've come to find out Maryland doesn't have a self-defense law and whatnot. You can defend yourself within your own home. So basically, if someone is coming into your home, you can lawfully, shoot them or do things like that. But if you were out on the street and someone, wouldn't say just assault, but someone attack you, the only thing you can do is separate yourself from your attacker to make sure and whatnot. They said it only becomes quote unquote self-defense unless they actually have a weapon itself. But even then, if you fight them off with a weapon and whatnot, and you accidentally shoot that person, they will call you off aggravated assault because basically that you killed your own assaulter, even though if they try to kill you, See, that's the whole catch-22 with everything, And I feel like that's what's falling in with this case also too and whatnot, Because they're going to call it self-defense, but now they're going to play this whole catch-22, game is like, well, he's 17. Well, we don't know. He has no military background. So like, we don't know who taught him to shoot, but, we felt like, he had to make sure no one, did anything to him. He didn't know. Well, boom. They don't know if it went off or whatnot. We're not even sure if he pulled the trigger. These are the games. I'm saying, well, that will be played. But that's the whole thing about this whole quote unquote self-defense. There's so many gray areas behind it. And we see it in the case right now, So I don't know what's going to happen, but I would say he's definitely getting off. So, and I told people, I'm not, like people would say they want you to be mad about it. I was like, I really can't be so mad if we don't have clear consensus of what's lawful or unlawful and whatnot. Like clearly.
Well, the thing is, he shouldn't even have had the gun in the first place.
I mean, that makes
right.
sense.
He was underage. So,
right.
I mean, there's that,
Mm-hmm.
So that right
Exactly.
there, him just having it, and then shooting and killing somebody, those right there, to me, that's it.
Yeah.
That's
it's the type of gun for me. Like, I know it sounds like I'm stuck on the gun, but I really am, because in my opinion, that is not his whole entire argument. The premise of his argument is that he was there to administer aid and protect like stores and stuff. Okay, that sounds like something someone decides that they're trying to be a good citizen, so they grab like their pistol or whatever because they're just trying to go out there and protect property or some shit like that, right? It's bullshit, but
yeah, I don't believe that.
If it was a pistol, okay. But a fucking AR-15 style rifle, no, sir. You are out there looking for fucking trouble. That's a war weapon.
Yeah, he was looking to catch some bodies. I'm gonna just say that. He was looking to use that.
That's blowing me. Like, I feel like there's not enough attention being paid to the type of gun he had.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. That's a very big thing. I mean, aside from him being underage, I mean, the type of gun he had, yeah, Come on, man. Like
it's not even easily attainable. Like based on what you all are explaining to me, that's not even a gun that's easily attainable.
It's really not. I mean, I'm just letting you guys know. I mean, they say that many hunters, based upon Google, it said basically many hunters use this gun for versatility, accuracy, and wide variety of available features and wide variety of calibers and whatnot. But to get that one, like
he was out hunting people.
That's an assault rifle. I mean, there's not many assault rifles that you can actually, and
I thought assault rifles were illegal.
And they're trying to make it illegal. Certain states are not allowing, to sell those guns. You can buy in certain places, but they've been trying to stop it because of the whole killing of people, with the RFK 15s assault rifles. I
still don't understand why it's used for hunting. So basically the sport of hunting, I thought was like, sick people who like to, it's one thing if people hunt because they're going to eat the animals, but people who hunt for sport, I happen to think they're sick. But anyway, I thought that they were basically like those one-shot guns because they like to like stalk the prey and then shoot them once. If they're using assault rifles, that's like fucking cheating because multiple guns are going to come out. I mean, multiple bullets are going to come out anyway. What the fuck are they? They're not even, at that point, it's not even about hunting. It's just killing.
I mean, there's a few assault rifles, that has that type of sniper ability. But, I'm looking at Google right now and seeing if I can even purchase a AR-15 rifle. I can't even purchase one. I slide over to the shopping, section on Google. Right now, it says your search for RA-15 rifle does not match any shopping results. So that basically means, like, if I can't even buy it off the net, then where was this person? That means if he remember, and he's 17, it means who in the hell purchased this gun and whatnot? Who owns the gun? We haven't even got down to that part yet, and that's where things are going to start trickling down from now, because we got a minor right now, who killed 2 people. But my question is, where in the hell did he get the gun from? Ain't nobody trying to say anything about that, because I know he didn't get it from his mom and whatnot, because, right now everyone's making fun of his mom because what she looks like and whatnot on IG with all these weird memes and whatnot. But yeah,
we got to remember the mom took him to Kenosha also. I feel like there's not enough focus on that as well. I know people talk about that sometimes, but there's not really enough energy on that aspect. Like this man's mother.
I thought I heard somewhere that wasn't true, that he drove himself, but I don't know.
I heard about.
I heard the mother took
so
him there.
Crazy, and it's so crazy you said it, Naya, because that's what I heard. I heard this brother drove himself over there.
Yeah, I heard that there was originally the rumor that the mom drove him there, but then it came out that in itself was actually a rumor and that he drove himself.
Oh, so he actually drove himself there.
Yep.
That's what I heard. I'm actually looking it up now because I've heard both of them actually.
Because what I heard that he drove himself over there and whatnot. So now I'm sitting over here like, yo, how are we, like how do you get there and whatnot? Because you can't. Because now I'm like, because is Kenosha is that in Canada?
No, it's in Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin.
Oh, it's in Wisconsin. All right. Now, this is what I'm probably gonna do. All right. So I'm gonna Google Wisconsin gun shops. And I want to
I just did. And so it is confirmed that he drove himself.
Yeah, I'm reading the article too.
Many people believed that the mom drove her, but he drove himself. But one important, just quick note to you all is that apparently Cal was preparing to be some kind of police cadet. I just came across that. So, you know what that makes me think? Pat, there is absolutely a possibility this fucker is going to get off.
Yep. Even you mentioning that. Yep.
Because maybe the jury will say to themselves, the reason that he thought it was acceptable to go there to protect property and stuff is because he wanted to be a police cadet. So that's some bullshit.
Yep.
Okay, sorry, E-Man. Sorry. No, just wanted to elaborate there that the mom did not drive him; he drove himself.
Yeah, that's basically what I got also too.
Okay, so he drove himself. All right.
So, because I was checking on the gun law purchases in in Wisconsin, and everything's over 18 and whatnot.
Yeah, so he was still underage, like Pat was saying.
So now I'm a Google right now, Wisconsin gun shops and see what comes up. And and right now, there's a bunch of gun shops, that came up. I saw at least about 4 to 5 and whatnot. So if this 17-year-old, kid, didn't buy a gun out in Wisconsin and whatnot, that basically means he bought it from the state that he was living in to bring it over there, or someone purchased this gun for him, and everything just gets sticky from there and whatnot, I don't even know what to say. Like, I'm not, you want to feel angry, you want to feel mad, you want to feel disgust, you want to feel a lot of different things, but there's so many questions that I still can't even answer. Kid drove himself over there. 1, 2, this kid got a military weapon. You know what I'm saying? That's something you don't just find, there's something you just don't just go to the store and buy. Like, it made it seem like he went to Walmart, picked up, a pack of candy and just exited out the store, paying like $2 for it and leaving. That's what it seemed like when it comes to this whole gun situation. Like, it was just that easy to obtain it. And that's why there's so many holes in the story, because everyone keeps flipping the story around. But him getting off, based upon if basically, since he, I think that one charge that got dismissed over the gun possession, then, you're asking for, for a mistrial and whatnot, like that's definitely leading, basically, the case is going to get thrown out, and then
that's what it looks like.
And he basically walks and whatnot.
That's fucking sad.
Well, I'm gonna just say something real quick. So this is why I bring up white supremacy, because there's a lot of layers to this thing. And what I'm gonna say is, the thing is, I can't go into too much depth, not on this podcast anyway. I'm gonna have to do that on my own program. That way I can really get into the layers and all that other stuff. But what's going on, at least to me, it's pretty obvious. But I know it's hard. It's just hard for people to see. I mean, people know, because I mean, if we go back to the judge, just seeing the way he's conducting himself, seeing how other people are reacting or responding to this whole thing, I just sit back and look at it and I'm just like, okay, yeah, I see what's probably going to happen. I see what's going on here. You know, it's just, to me anyway, it's pretty obvious, but I can't go into too much detail here. I'm gonna have to break them layers down on my own program, because if I even attempt to do it here, it's just gonna make this much longer than it needs to be. So I'm gonna do that somewhere else. But when I bring up the system of white supremacy, I'm not being hyperbolic. Like, that's what's going on right now. But anyway, I'm gonna digress on that point. But I'm gonna definitely go into more layers on my own program, because yeah, this stuff needs to be really broken down, like for real. So I'm gonna just put that out there.
All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead, E-Man.
No, you good. But I'm gonna just kick off my final thoughts and my final notes on this. You know, no matter what. No, let me not say that. I'm gonna flip it around. This story will probably go down as one of the wildest mysteries, you know, ever and whatnot. Ever. Yeah. And since this whole pandemic thing, you know, started, there's been a whole lot of crazy shit that's been going on, you know. But when I mean wild and crazy, I'll even kick it up a notch, you know.
And there'll be more to come.
And it's going to be more to come. Literally, last week and whatnot. Last week, you know, there was a shootout at the mall that's 5 minutes up the street from my house and whatnot. Literally. And I'm not just talking about a small shooting. This was a whole up drive-by, literally in the parking lot, multiple cars, shootout. 5 minutes down the street from my house and whatnot, you know? And you always want to keep questioning why. And, you know, and it's just like these revolving doors. And it's just like this whole story with the whole Rittenhouse thing, you know? Like I feel like since this thing's happened, like, I don't even know. I'm not even gonna say if crime even exists. I'm like, yo, like, it seems like everyone's getting away with some type of serious crime and whatnot, you know? Like, crime so bad to the point where, like, literally, you know, you go shoot somebody, oh, well, it just happened and whatnot. But it seemed like it's so easy to get off now than like before. Because I'm trying to figure out how a kid got a gun that's so militarized in his hands and he killed 2 people, you know? I'm still trying to figure out why the hell there was a shootout a week ago, you know, last week for no fucking reason, you know? The craziest story that I've heard thus far, a guy in Chicago, the northwest side of Chicago, literally got shot coming home to his own house because 2 guys was blocking his garage entrance to his house and whatnot. How crazy is that, you know? And that's how I feel like how all these stories keep trickling down. Like, a lot of them are not making sense, but then you take them to court, you're like, wow, you know? So now it seems like now it's cool for minors to go pick up military style weapons and get grizzy and get dirty. You know?
We talking about white kids here?
I don't even white, yes, black, who knows? Because if I feel like if it was a black kid, he definitely going to jail.
That's why I asked, because I'm like, I mean,
because I don't even know.
Black kids can't just, you know, walk up in a store and just, well, I'm gonna just put it like this: Black kids can't do what these white kids can do. I'll just put it like that. They can't. So that's why I was like, okay, is it white kids? Because these kids can walk out of a store with a gun, and I mean, apparently nobody blinks an eye, but a Black kid doing that, that's not gonna go over too well.
Pat, I think you gave a great example earlier when you were talking about Tamir Rice. He had a toy gun and was killed by multiple cops. Kyle Rittenhouse had a live gun, killed live people, and made it out of that scene alive.
Right, exactly.
It's so crazy that story about the kid with the toy gun. I don't even want to get into Tamir that story. Rice. Yeah, but I actually saw the raw footage and whatnot, and like it was weird. What I saw from that footage, something like someone killed that boy and whatnot, but in my eyes were like what I saw on camera, it wasn't like the police officer. It was weird because I
that was the police officer that did that.
A lot of people said that, and I looked at the footage. I think afterwards, and I think there was some missing footage and whatnot. But what I saw when it first hit him, like something from the sky shot the kid. Like it seemed like someone shot him from a distance and whatnot. Because it was weird.
Okay,
like, really weird.
The footage I saw was the police car rolled up, and
what that's
the police car rolled up, and Tamir Rice was just in the park with the toy gun, and car rolls up, and the cop just comes out and just pops him, like doesn't approach the kid, nothing. Like he just comes out and just pops him. That's what I saw.
Yes, apparently in the Tamir Rice case, there was a call that there was a guy with a gun at the park. And so the police went there, not even considering it was a kid with a toy gun, and went there with the malice in their hearts that this was someone that was a threat. He didn't take the time to evaluate the situation.
No, he didn't. Not like no time at all. Like to me, it's just crazy how fast he even jumped out the car and just shot him. Like it's just crazy. And I'm just like, if that was a white kid, he wouldn't have did that.
Right. And you're 100% correct in my opinion, Pat, because the caller even mentioned that it was possibly a juvenile. So if the caller even says it's possibly a juvenile, for the cop to just get out and shoot, like, come on, sir. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
It's all
at
these
a
crazy
park.
stories. Yeah. And that's another thing. Like, I've never seen a cop shoot at a park, because here comes the thing, even that's what you heard what the call said. Just imagine you're going to a park. There's children there, like, yeah, you shot at children. Say if you would have shot 2 or 3 children, like that right there itself was like dangerous, and look how costly it was. Like, I don't even know what to say anymore. Like, it's so hard to question everyone's logic now, because if a 17-year-old white boy, can get his hand on a military style weapon, it makes it seem that anybody can do it, anybody.
Well, not anybody. maybe white people, but not anybody.
You must gotta have big connections to pull something off like that, because I don't know how someone like that has a military style rifle in his hand, like, and he drove himself over there. But who is the person that gave him a gun? And that's where he's gonna get it off from, at the end of the day. And I want my thoughts to end, but it won't end because it's still not making any damn sense. And that's the thing. But I don't want to be all day, keep rambling and, going on and on. I'm going to just, I'm going to say, I don't want to say it is what it is because it's not. There's still more mysteries to this whole, and I feel like this is going to be a big revolving door soon. Just I'd say just wait. Once he gets off, which we already know he is, just wait until there's going to be more to the story.
So your answer to the question, will the tears get him a lighter sentence, is yes, they will.
It seemed like it will. Like I don't even feel like he needs to go cry, boo, boo, boo. I mean, evidence based upon everything. They look like this is going to give it to him, because based upon what I've heard, I'm like, damn, if you already missed that towards the gun possession, that's just basically telling them, nigga, the gun didn't even belong to you. So, like, and there you have it, So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that, sir. I appreciate you taking the time to wrap us up. To all our listeners out there, we would like to thank you all for all your continued support. Again, remember, if you have not already, please get on YouTube and hit that like and subscribe for us. Also share. We definitely keep the content coming as much as possible. And before we sign off, I want to throw it to Mr. PAT and E-Man to share some important contact information for you. So, Mr. PAT, go ahead and drop that info, sir.
Yeah. You already know thepatchannel.com. I'm providing graphic design, illustration, web design, and content creation, content writing. Those are the services I'm providing. So if you would like to get in contact with me, just go to thepatchannel.com, go to the contact page, get in contact with me through there, and we will talk business. If you want to follow me on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all links are on thepatchannel.com. So go there, like, subscribe, share, do all that. You want to do business, hit me up, thepatchannel.com. And that's that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. E-Man, go ahead and drop that data for him, sir.
Yeah, so you can hit me up on my IG at Woo Athletics 56. That is my personal training and sports business, holistic company and whatnot. I just finished up another smoke herbal blend and I'm out the package and that I'm about to give it out to a few people for testing. But yeah, I should be having that product line by the end of November because it's the whole packaging thing that's been killing me. But Woo Athletics 56 is my personal training and sports coaching business company and whatnot. So you can definitely hit me up on IG. You can send it has all my information towards my number, email. All right. And you can drop me a DM. I've been putting out a whole lot of new content because I've been having a lot more new coaching clients, few more athletes I've been working with. So I got a few more content out there also too. And also hit up one of my other clients who's a really good guy. He specializes in the high end shoes and handle bag repairs. If you check out his IG, it's amazing. So his IG is called Pete's Cobbles DC. PETESCOBBLERDC. All right. That is his IG. You can go check it out. He has amazing stuff. You can see about all the cool things that he puts up towards his the work he does. It is off of 1050 Connecticut Avenue, Northwest DC, Suite 25. That's basically downtown in the Fargus North Metro Station that you can take off the Red Line for those who are in DC and whatnot. or in Maryland or Virginia, but definitely check it out. He's an awesome guy. He does awesome work. All right.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right, listeners, until next time, thanks for listening in. We appreciate you. And we will be back with you shortly. Peace.
Peace. Oh, before we kick it off and whatnot, all I'm about to say is this. No bras, panties for 21 and 21,
Lord,
21 and beyond. That's all I got to say. No bras, no panties. That is
okay,
the
we
new...
got it. No bras, no panties, and consensual butt rubs. we're duly noted.
We got to make sure we put it out there, though. Just saying.
Okay.
We need all the good love out there. So, yeah. All right.
Yes,
now we can kick it out.
All right.
All righty. Peace, everybody.
Peace out.
Peace.